Hello, gentlemen. So today, I got out of work a little earlier than I normally do, and I thought I would have a little fun and go fishing. I mean, it's more like a fun thing to do. It's not really like something I do all the time. And I thought that the best fishing is always with live bait. And but the thing is, I don't have live bait. So I got a rubber. Why is this getting stuck? Oh my God. I'll use a rubber bait with some Sweet Bays Ray's barbecue sauce. I mean, if the fish are like me, they're gonna bite this thing. But I don't know if barbecue sauce works when you're fishing. Let's see how long it takes for the fish to bite this thing. Hopefully they go for it right away. I mean, this is one of the best fishing. Barbecue sauces in the world. I freaking love Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. A lot of people are obsessed with it, I know. I'm just gonna cast it out. Oh, I didn't go that far. It didn't project that far. It's kind of windy too, so it's kind of like moving towards that way. Make sure, yeah, I can see the mic is working. I used to fish with my grandfather a lot when I was younger. When I was a kid, we used to go to the beach. He was a big, so he was Hawaiian. That's the first thing. He was Hawaiian, and you know how some people look at Hawaiians as surfers and stuff like that. My grandfather was a fisherman. He stayed on the shore fishing, or he would go scuba diving and go fishing that way. And then he'll catch fish all the time, harpooning and all that cool stuff. When I started knowing the world and being conscious of the world as a kid, I realized how cool that was. But I didn't understand the magnitude that normally people don't do that. And while growing up, I used to go fishing with him all the time. But when my mom divorced, so he was my step grandfather. When my mom divorced my stepdad, I I stopped hanging out with them as much as I used to, and it's sad because I loved my Hawaiian grandfather and my grandmother, and we just didn't see each other as much. And sadly, he passed away a couple years ago, and I didn't, in the later years of my life, I didn't see my grandfather as much. I know that he had so much more to give to the world, to me as a man, and I didn't, out of stupidity and stuff like that, I didn't really get the opportunity. So it is what it is. Life happens, that's why I always preach on my videos. I talk about death, not in a scary way, but in a way that, it happens. So you have to take advantage of the time you have and spend the time, be with your family. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna catch fish. It's not live bait. Live bait is really what works. And this looks like a lake that's kind of like man-made. You have vegetation and stuff, but you don't really see. I don't think there's fish in here. I could be wrong. Growing up, I didn't even see the difference between a real grandfather and my grandfather Keoki. He, to me, was my grandfather. He was my father figure. He was a protector, provider. I stayed with my grandfather and my grandmother for a long time. So much so that I kind of felt like I was their son. They never got the experience being parents together. They got together later in life, and they each had their kids from previous marriages. And when I stayed with them, it was kind of like I was their kid of their marriage. And whenever my mom and my stepdad had financial issues, I would stay with them. And I grew to be close to them, like really tight. And I miss my grandfather. He was such a good person. So much so that now I'm having a baby, and his name is gonna be He's gonna be named after my grandfather. That's why a lot of people are confused when they ask me what my baby's name is gonna be, and I say Benjamin Keoki Morales, is because my grandfather, his name was Keoki. That's his Hawaiian name. He's George. Keoki means George, and everybody knew him as Keoki, and I knew him as Keoki. I didn't know that Keoki meant George at all, but that was his name. And yeah, so I named my son Keoki, and I'm always gonna keep my grandfather's legacy, his name alive, which to me is freaking amazing, and I love it. So the earliest memories I have of my grandfather is working with him in a sort of Blockbuster type of shop in Puerto Rico. He owned a shop and he has so many movies. And in that same plaza that we had it was like a little plaza in a hallway, and then on the right would be his shop. And he had all these kind of movies that I would watch. And down the hall to the left was a diner that my grandmother owned, and she would cook and have all the stuff that diners have, and that was their job. And my grandfather would also do construction. I remember that he was really handy. And I would remember being in that shop, working with him. I would do the cash register. I was like 5 or 6 years old. He just had me there. And I would spend time there. I would watch movies. I would literally like open up the cassette, because it was cassettes at that time. It was in 96, around there. I would open up the cassettes, take the film off, watch the movie, rewind it, and then I would take the cassette into the machine that would re-wrap the cassette with film, and I would put it back in the shelf to be sold. And I did that for a year or two. I was 5, so how long did I have? And it was the best times it was there. I remember he had an arcade machine, that was like Terminator, and I would play that whenever I had extra money that he would give me, and I would just throw my quarters in there and play my Terminator game. And I had such a good time. And then every time I was hungry, I would just go down the hallway and get some food from the diner from my grandmother, and she would always have this rum cake that was like circular, and that was her famous cake that she would always make for parties and stuff. But she always had it in those glass diner containers that you open it, she'll cut a piece and give it to the Patreons, the people that pay. In that area where we live, whenever I would stay with them, they had a house, they had 2 houses. One that was owned by my grandmother's father, but he passed away, so it was inherited to them. And another house down the road in Puerto Rico, and that it was up in a mountain. And in the house that they were staying at, that was theirs, it was kind of like behind them, it was like the jungle, right? And then across the street was the entrance to the other house that eventually we stayed at with them. I stayed with them. And it had an entrance and a big driveway to the 2-story house. And then behind, it had a wraparound porch right in between the up and downstairs. And when you were in the back part of the porch, you can see the whole town of Puerto Rico. And the thing is that Puerto Rico has these sites where you can see the whole entire town and mountains and the ocean. And I don't remember seeing the ocean, but I remember seeing the town, and I thought I was like on top of the world. I was like super high, and it was always it was beautiful. And that land, that with the big driveway on the side, it was kind of like, it was flat there, but it was also like where the road was, there was like a flat, like a sideways piece of land, and there they had a whole bunch of vegetation. We had avocado trees, banana trees, cassava roots, which is yucca. Yeah, yucca. And as a little kid, my grandfather would give me some like work boots. And I remember the boots that he got me. They were blue, and they had a yellow bottom part, and it had like a smiley face. And I remember I used to love wearing those because when I would wear them, I knew that I was going to the farm and I was going to be working with him and work the land with him. And things that the kids nowadays don't even know about, like understand that the hard work that it takes to take care of your property. Shoot, even me, like I've grown in a way here in America that I don't even know what hard work is compared to what I used to do as a little kid. So I remember the coolest thing on the property was that they had a shop, not a shop, a shack. And that's where he kept all of my grandfather's tools. But I think they were my step grandmother's father's tools. And I would go in there. I don't know if you guys experienced this, but I would go into the shed and I would see all these rusty tools and old stuff. I saw a flare gun and I was like, whoa, what is this? As a little kid, I'm like, whoa. And it smelled moldy and old, but it was the greatest sensation because it was like you discovered gold or something. I think that's how it was when you go into your grandparents' house and you see all the old stuff that they collected over the years. It's a nice experience. You know, being an adult doesn't hit the same as it did when we were little kids. You know how everything was magic, everything is nostalgic, everything was, you go around your little community and ride your bicycles, trade Pokemon cards, play Nintendo, all that cool stuff that you as a 30-year-old or 40-year-old or 25-year-old, you're like, oh man, I remember as a little kid, I used to do all these things and everything was so much fun. And now we have to pay bills and all that stuff that we do as adults. And we're like, we start to think, I wish we had that magic all over again. And I think that it's possible. We can continue having that magic. We travel, we try to do new things. We go out to eat at different restaurants. I think that's why I'm so drawn to the camera, and it's because of that. Like I can capture nostalgia, and in 20 years, I'll be able to watch this video if I'm still alive, of course, and reminisce on this conversation, reminisce on the memories of my grandfather, or whoever I'm talking about in that moment. And but now that I'm gonna be a dad, I start to think like, I had my time to see the wonders of the world, or the wonders that were local to me, that were given to me also. And now as a dad, soon to be dad, my job is to give that same opportunity to my son. Make magic for him, And I remember as a kid, like the simplest things would be magical. Going to McDonald's, getting that Happy Meal, getting those Pokemon cards and opening up the packages and seeing what you got. Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Nintendo, getting a cartridge, smelling the new game. All these things, blowing into the cartridges. Things are different, And sometimes I'm like, we had it different. We had it better back in the day. But, to our kids, probably the things that they see, their iPads, whatever it is going to be their nostalgia, their magic. I have to be careful that I don't say, hey, back in my day, because back in my day was amazing, but they're going to have a beautiful childhood too. It's going to be different. It's going to be modern. In my eyes, it's going to be modern. To them, it's going to be old. As we get older, we have to keep that nostalgia, that magic alive in different ways, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. Continue making memories all the time.